behind the scenes. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about my guys. My guys are just amazing. They are incredible. I moved to France back in 2004 and I had my first baby here and he was just 4 weeks old. So we moved here and I came with a baby. I had no idea about living in France. I didn't speak the language. I didn't have a job. I think he also had a great deal to do with why we came to live in France. And he is such an old soul. When I was pregnant with him, I met his energy and I went, oh my word, he is such a wise, wise man. And he's growing up. He's now 16 and he's growing up into a really wise man. This is Mika. He's my eldest son. And I've changed my relationship around with him. He was very angry at one particular stage when my partner and I got separated. And he's very intuitive. And I'm raising both of my boys to live knowing that they are practically magic, that they can create anything that they want. And we have fun with that. And when I go out, I ask them to find me a parking space, or if they say they want something, I say, put it out into the universe, ask for it. And yeah, they're just incredible. I could probably say that they are French boys, because I certainly haven't had any influence to do with them being British or English. I was in a partnership with a Dutchman before. I'm now in partnership with a Frenchman. So they're very European. And I'm just so proud of them, because they've gone through school and they're going through college and they're beginning to choose their careers, and they're doing it in a language that's not my mother tongue. So I cannot help them in any way whatsoever. So I've always thought, how can I help them the best? How can I be of help to them? Knowing that if you're not happy, your education doesn't work that well for you. So I just have to make sure that they're absolutely on track and they know what makes them happy. So I'm always having weird conversations with them about what makes you happy, how do you know you love that person, what does love feel like for you. And both my boys, they know their soul. They have conversations with their soul. And my eldest boy has a soul who's called Jake. And Jake came to him when I was doing a totem animal journey with him. He said, Mummy, I want a totem animal like you. You've got your Black Panther and I want a totem animal. So I did a journey with him. And when I spoke to him afterwards, he had this very old elf-like man who really slows him down and really answers all his questions. And if he ever is having trouble, I always say to him, have you spoken to Jake? And he says to me, yes, you know I have, Mummy. Or no, I will though. I'll ask Jake tonight when I go to sleep. And he has conversations with Jake and he answers questions for him and he gets information for him. So this is what I'm talking about all the time, like intuition. Use your intuition. Talk to your soul. Find the name of your soul. This is living with practical magic. I also say to both of my boys, don't worry too much about the job that you're going to have in the future, because you're at that stage in your life now. The jobs that you will be doing don't even exist yet. My youngest son said to me once, he'd been out a walk with my eldest son and me, and he said, maybe days afterwards, he said, oh Mummy, he said, I've met my soul. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, thinking that he hadn't, that he was just making it up because he was very young. And he said, he's an animal, Mummy. He's an ermine. So like a white stoat with a black tail. And when I talked to him, when I was alone with him, I said, so where do you find your soul, your ermine? And what's his name? His name's Dobby, Mum. All right, okay. And how does he help you? Oh, he helps me with so many different things. And then as we've progressed, we've understand more about how this soul is helping my other son. We were doing dictate one time. So my partner, who's French, was reading something out. And it was a passage that you have to write, and you know whether you can, you know, if you know what the word looks like and all the rest of it. And there was a very complicated word in there, and I was also doing this dictate, and I was got no idea. So phonetically, I was trying to work it out. And afterwards, my partner said to Rio, "How on earth did you know that word, Rio?" He said, "You know, you have difficulty, you know, finishing a phrase or getting the grammar correct, but you know this word. How can you know this word?" Anyway, he didn't say what it was. And then when I was driving with him one day, I said, "So how did you find that word, darling? How did you know what that word looked like?" He said, "Oh, shall I tell you, Mummy?" I said, "Oh yeah, please do." And he said, "Well," he said, "I just went up into my big white space," and he said, "I asked Dobby, what does that word look like? What does that word look like? How would it look?" And he said he wrote it like in black. And he said, "So I just copied it." And I was like, "That's brilliant." This is all the stuff that we can do and that I teach when you understand that you have assistants, you have spiritual assistants with you all the time. I'm raising boys with practical magic. I'm growing them in the soil of practical magic, and I've got no idea where it's going. They teach me, and I say, "How did you do that?" And one time I was saying to him, "What's that music you're listening to, Mika?" And he said, "Oh, it's BTS, it's a Korean group." And I said, "But how can you understand what they're saying?" And he said, "It's more what it feels like, Mum." And he's a great fan of this group. And I said, and he gets some of the words translated and the songs translated, and they are all about the soul. I'm like, "Oh my God." And we send each other clips and reels about the soul, about, you know, funny things that we find. And he sends me songs or something like that. It's just the most amazing. I cannot believe the kind of relationship that I've got with these two kids. Woo! Makes me cry. I would have loved to have had that relationship with my own parents. Who are now elderly and falling apart. And I don't know how that's going to be for them, because it just wasn't part of our communication or our conversation when we were younger. Oof. And that's why it's so important for me that I've created this relationship with my boys. I live with my partner, and he has two boys who are teenagers as well. And I'm beginning to open them up to those kind of things as well. And they also say to me, "Oh, I'd like to have a totem animal session with you." So I will be doing that shortly with them. So they're with us every other week. My boys are with me all the time, and they totally understand that I'm a single mum. They totally understand the work that I do, and they help me too. They help me on social media. "Oh, Mum, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" They're the air that I breathe. They're the reason I get up in the morning. Absolutely love them to bits.